Hello, welcome. So this is your first lesson, the first technique within a series of 10 that will help you release all of the tension in your body within just one breath. Huge statement there, but I'm willing to actually explain it and make it make sense so that you believe me. Where you breathe, tension must leave. I'm going to repeat that over and over again. It's going to become your mantra. Where you breathe, tension must leave. Here's how we test this. Go ahead, start flexing your abs for me like you're trying to get a six-pack on the beach. Flex, 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 flex. And then try to breathe into your belly. So try to breathe down. You'll immediately notice, does not work. It is completely locked up, right? Breath, tension, they are opposites of one another. Therefore, and what we're doing in this entire thing is we're reverse engineering the process. Where you breathe, tension must leave. Try it like you're flexing your abs, and then if you want to breathe into your belly, you have to let go of the tension, right? And then it spills over like water through a dam. So it's flexing, it's not moving, then it relaxes, boom, all the way through. So if we want to learn how to release tension, then we have to learn how to breathe. Let's start backing up our intuition here. This is not like how we think a vacuum cleaner works. So like take a breath in through your nose. Right? It feels like you're like vacuuming things into your face, right? But that's not actually what's happening. What's really happening is that your body is creating space. It's making room for the air, and that just so happens to drag air into the nose. So let me explain that in terms of your diaphragm, okay? Maybe you know the diaphragm through like when you hiccup or you sneeze, like you hiccup and this thing spasms on the inside of your body. Now, the diaphragm is like this dome or parachute or jellyfish, and it separates the entire upper half of your body from your lower half. So this thing, you can take your hands, it runs flush right underneath your rib cage. You can actually palpate. You can't quite get there, but it's draped right over. Diaphragm is interesting in that it contracts downwards. So this thing is in dome shape, and when it contracts, it flattens. Now, okay, the diaphragm is connected to your lungs right above it, right? They're glued to one another. They're suctioned on top. So you can actually see here, because it's glued to the lungs, it's going to inflate the lungs. It's going to make the lungs get larger by comparison. What happens in the belly? All these organs are relatively static in volume. That is, unless you drink a big glass of water or eat a big meal, everything here is relatively the same. So when the diaphragm moves down, somehow your organs have to get out of the way. Otherwise, they kind of get smushed in. And how do the organs get out of the way? Well, your abs have to relax. Your lower body has to relax. Hence, you flexed, and suddenly you can't breathe using your diaphragm because your organs have nowhere to go. Does that make sense? Now, where can the organs go? They can move forward, they can move backwards, they can move left, they can move right, and they can move down. They can move everywhere except upwards. What that means is that you have to relax in all of those 5 directions. Down, left, right, forwards, and backwards. So not only is your abdomen required to relax as it goes through, but your low back has to relax, your pelvic floor has to relax, and the sides, your obliques, have to relax. All of this might help with a bit of a visual. So you'll see this entire lesson is called plunger breathing, and you can actually imagine this entire mechanism as a big plunger. Imagine in your mind's eye, you've got the wooden handle with kind of the rubber head at the top. You put it in the clogged toilet and you kind of pull and it creates that suction cup effect. Now imagine that rubber head just flipping in on itself. So it's almost this reverse plunger. It's got this kind of like umbrella shape to it. You still got your wooden handle here, but now when you pull the handle, this head, this rubber head, flattens out. I mean, this is literally how your diaphragm works, in that when it flattens, it creates the suction cup effect, which brings air into your body. But now, rather than the wooden handle is your mind, right? Is the actual activation of your diaphragm. Now, really helpful here actually is to imagine starting or initiating the breath from the bottom of the handle, aka like your anal muscles, your sphincter muscles, your pelvic floor, okay? And you should feel it get wider. Like if you know a Kegel where you kind of suck energy up, or in yoga it's called Mula Bandha, this is not what we're doing with the inhale. This is actually counterproductive to an inhale. Now it's important for many, many other reasons that we're able to suck energy up, but in terms of taking the widest possible volume and therefore being the most relaxed, you gotta let go of it. So it's almost like bearing down. It's called a reverse Kegel or a reverse Mula Bandha. You're almost bearing weight down as though you were trying to go number 2 on the toilet. All of this, let's take 3 deep breaths to ground it into our body. Really helps to close your eyes. So if you want to do that, shut them down. And then bring all of your attention to your pelvic floor area. What I want you to do is I want you to imagine a little circle on the end. And now as you breathe using your belly, and you can actually place one hand on it, as you breathe in, this circle gets bigger and you start to push down, and you'll feel that your stomach goes forward, aka you get more pregnant. Your low back goes behind you, aka it relaxes. Your left and right get kind of separated, so your obliques start to open. And then finally, you're pushing downwards, so you're feeling air reach the anal muscles, the sphincter muscles. Good, let that go. One more. Inhale, start downwards. Start by breathing all the way down. And then once the down fills up, then you go forwards, backwards, left and right. Okay, let it go. One last one. Fix your posture and then take it to the bottom of the ground. All the way down. And eventually, by the way, once you get more attuned, you can actually start to breathe almost with the core of the earth. So you can imagine this anchor line, this umbilical cord from your sphincter, from your pelvic floor, your root, all the way to the core of the earth. And now when you breathe in, it's like a huge thing just gets plunged downwards and downwards. And you can just find like you're getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Okay, release that. Side note, we start with the belly, we start with the plunger or the diaphragm because it brings in the most amount of air into your body. Air has to come in either through your nose or through your mouth. It has to travel from top to bottom then. Therefore, if you start with the top of your chest, you're only going to breathe to the top of the chest. Versus when you start with the diaphragm, when you start with the bottom of your lungs, it's going to fill most of it on the way in. Plunger breathing, diaphragmatic breathing, belly breathing, all the same thing, and it is so freaking crucial for your relaxation. You got something called a vagus nerve in there. We don't have time to get into it. Maybe we'll talk about that in level 3 or 4 of this entire series. But too long, didn't read. When you inflate with all these organs and they start smushing into each other, like you can actually feel that. It might feel a little uncomfortable at first to breathe into this because you can feel your liver splatting into your stomach and into your intestines. So the vagus nerves on top of them actually get activated by the physical pressure, and that causes a rest response. Oftentimes people will get emotional right off the bat when they start belly breathing because it turns out we've been really tense. And tension and the release aspect, which we'll talk about in lesson number 10 of this series, it's gotta come out of the body in some way. Moral of the story, when you start breathing like this, 1, yes, could be uncomfortable, not gonna kill you. 2, yes, you might get emotional, not gonna kill you. 3, yes, you might have a huge release, a huge purge, aka crying, shaking, etc. No big deal, you'll learn more about that soon. Okay, that is it. Thank you for your attention, thank you for your practice. If you want to familiarize yourself with the concepts one more time, shortest possible summary down below. Welcome to download the PDF guide by putting in your email. And then of course, check out the practice audios if you want to do something like 10 of these plunger breaths. Otherwise, see you in the next lesson.